Hello, my name is Whitney Henry, and I'm a nursing student at the Indiana State University LPN to BSN program. This presentation is on helmet safety and traumatic brain injury prevention. The target audience for this presentation is really anyone, but specifically people who engage in high-impact activities. The learning objectives for this presentation is that upon completion of viewing this presentation, my viewers will be able to state the definition of traumatic brain injury, explain how helmets prevent traumatic brain injury, identify the correct way to wear a helmet, and be able to discuss the appropriate types of helmets to use for different activities. Please pause the video here and take the pretest. This pretest will allow you to assess your current knowledge of traumatic brain injury and helmet safety and allow you to track your progression of knowledge throughout the course of the presentation. The pretest can be located underneath the video. You can click on the link and the pretest will populate there. Let's first discuss what a traumatic brain injury is. A traumatic brain injury is tissue damage within the brain that can range from mild to severe, and it follows a jolt or a violent blow to the head. Traumatic brain injury is a major cause of death and disability. Even a mild traumatic brain injury still qualifies as a serious injury and should be diagnosed promptly so that treatment can commence. There are many causes of a traumatic brain injury, including collisions, falls, sports-related injuries, blasts, things like that. And many of these injuries can be prevented by wearing a helmet. There are many symptoms that follow a traumatic brain injury. Physical symptoms can include nausea, vomiting, headache. Sensory symptoms can include visual or auditory disruption. Cognitive symptoms could include memory loss. Behavioral symptoms could include lack of ability to discuss with people, to understand conversation. It all depends on the severity of the injury, what kind of symptoms are going to arise from the injury. So why is it so important to wear a helmet? Well, bottom line, helmets can protect individuals from traumatic brain injuries. In 2019 alone, according to the CDC, there were 61,000 deaths related to traumatic brain injuries, and that does not include the hospitalizations that did not result in death. Helmets are created to absorb the force of impact that your head or your face otherwise would absorb from the incident. TBIs can affect people of all ages. They can affect children in sports. They can affect adults who fall, but many activities, high-impact activities, can cause traumatic brain injury, and therefore helmet wearing during those high-impact activities can help reduce the risk of TBI. It can actually help to reduce the risk of TBI by up to 85%. It's also notable that many activities require helmets either by law or by regulation. Local enforcement may require helmets be worn by children. Motorcyclists are required to wear helmets. And then per regulation in certain activities like baseball, football, different organizational sports may be required to wear certain helmets. So which types of helmets are required for which types of activities? Well, the reality is that every helmet is designed to protect the individual from a very specific kind of impact that would be taken on during a specific activity. There are actually more types of helmets than I realized prior to researching this project. So as you can see on the right-hand side, we have a table with the different types of helmets that are required for different kinds of activities. You can see that in the sports section at the very bottom, there are many different kinds of helmets for the different types of sports, including different helmets for different positions in different types of sports. We also see that, for example, the bicycle helmet and the motorcycle helmet are very multifunctional. You can see how many activities that a bicycle helmet can be worn for, how many activities a motorcycle helmet can be worn for. But if you have some extra time, you should look up the different types of helmets because they're all structured differently and they're all designed to take on different types of impact that are most likely during that activity. So make sure when you are participating in an activity that you have an appropriate helmet and that it is also approved for that activity. Last but not least, it's incredibly important that our helmets are fitted properly. Otherwise, they're not going to do their job in preventing traumatic brain injury. So, number one, we want to make sure that they're worn consistently. Even if you wear your helmet 50% of the time, if you're not wearing your helmet during a incident, during a collision, your helmet is not going to help you. It's also important that your helmet's well taken care of, that there's no cracks, that there's no breaks in the helmet. It should be also replaced after impact if indicated. Many bicycle helmets, the foams will compress and they're no longer good at protecting your brain for a second incident, so they should be replaced. They should be age appropriate. They should also be aged appropriately. Some helmets have expiration dates, whether that's because the regulations have changed or if the foam just breaks down over a certain period of time. Make sure that you keep track of the manual. They should also be appropriately certified for the type of use. Like we talked about in the last slide, there are different activities that require different kinds of helmets. So make sure that the helmet that you have chosen to use for that activity is appropriate. It should be sitting flat on your head, level with your forehead. You can see here, this is a bicycle helmet example. Obviously, there are many types of helmets, but we'll use the bicycle helmet as an example. You can see that it's above his eyebrows, pretty level with his head, that the straps are all secure. Your helmet will not be effective if you have not secured the straps to keep it on your head. The helmet should also fit comfortably and snug. So it shouldn't have too much movement. You shouldn't be able to put more than a finger between the straps, but it shouldn't be pinching anywhere. And then again, just keep track of those manufacturing guidelines. Make sure that your helmet is still within regulation. Please pause the video here and take the post test, which is located underneath the video in the form of a link. This will allow you to assess your current knowledge of traumatic brain injury and helmet safety and how your knowledge progressed throughout the course of this presentation. I have created a brochure with more resources about helmet safety and traumatic brain injury that can be accessed by clicking the link underneath the video. If you have any questions or would like to research this on your own further, this is a great resource. You can click on the link and print out the brochure if you'd like. The following are resources I used to compile my presentation. I hope that you learned something and have more knowledge to equip yourself to prevent traumatic brain injury and wear your helmet safely.